Back in my early days at Guitar World, I'd heard about this band called Minus the Bear, and the only thing I knew about them, and I didn't know about their music, was I knew the guitar player used like 3 or 4 line 6 delays and manipulated them live. Over here, David Knudson, Minus the Bear. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no.
Longtime fan of the magazine, and like we spoke about earlier, I mean, I read it as a kid growing up, constantly would, go through and learn stuff off the tabs and learn new techniques and all that stuff, and it was great. So honored to be talking to you today.
You see, that Guitar World actually turned out a player like this. Read Guitar World. You're basically playing the guitar, but you were manipulating your pedal board almost like a keyboard. Like that's how you were kind of orchestrating all the sounds. And it's so physical.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty physical. A lot of the when we were writing this record specifically 20 years ago, I was listening to a lot of like electronic music where, people were using like MPCs or like, software to like cut up and manipulate samples. And so, didn't have any of that equipment, but I was influenced by a lot of those things, like whether it was DJ Shadow or Fortet or these electronic bands. But so I was like, how can I do that on guitar?
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, well, I'll just, I can stutter and repeat things, make it go backwards. That's the original sample. That's the backwards one. And so it just like opened up a whole new, I don't know, my brain just got really excited by the possibilities, and it just kind of spiraled out of control, to tell you the truth.
Well, what came first? I mean, actually, I'm curious because, like, obviously, like I said earlier, you're one of the guys who were the early adopters of this delay pedal. And I remember when it first came out, and then when I heard that you used 4 of them, but you use them more as the looping function as well as the delay. How did you fall into that? Was it the looper first or the delay?
That was funny. Like I had one for a while. I had no idea the looper function even existed. And so I think we were at a studio writing demos for a song, and I was like, oh, like what does this knob do? And I turned it on and I just messed around, and I was like, there was this little thing that I did on the B string, and it made it on, it was just some little droney loop, but it made it onto that song we were working on. And then from there I was like, well, why don't I get a second one so I can, do 2 loops or have delay and a loop going? And then it just kind of became a whole thing that just snowballed.
So you just kept on saying, I'll just keep on adding.
And I mean, it became a practical like necessity for playing those songs live, to be able to store multiple samples. Cause a lot of songs do have 2 samples going at once.
Right.
And then I'd need a delay. And then for this tour, I need a pedal that can do both delay and looping, which this one has been modified with the switch to
that kind of flops between the delay and the loop.
Yeah, so like when this green light's on here, it's in loop mode, and when I go like that, it just goes back to classic mode. But yeah, so that's kind of how the whole thing started. It is a ridiculous looking board, but it is its own instrument, and it's it's a fun tool to write with.
Yeah.
I feel like I can be really creative with it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Just watching you play, it's like it's not that it's not that you're just like tapping one thing there, but you're really being expressive. It's like you're using both of your feet, which is insane. And yeah, and just utilizing every aspect where you're also, it's not that you're just looping, but I notice it's also that you're exploiting all the other functions of the DL4 where you're like, you're bringing it not you're speeding it up, reversing it, slowing it down, right?
Yeah. And then, I mean, a lot of the stuff, there is a ton of the like the re-triggering part of it to like when it goes back to the start of the sample is honestly one of my favorite parts of the DL4.
That's awesome.
Because it just, you get this like, when you're playing live with a drummer, you can get, you can just lock into this groove.
Do mistakes happen? Like you hit the wrong button? I mean, it's got to happen.
All the time, yeah. And that's like,
so how do you correct yourself?
that's part of the beauty of it. I mean, I kind of view each performance as its own version of the song, right? And I think you can't get too locked into having it be absolutely perfect. Fans of the band that's seen us many times realize that sometimes it's not going to be totally perfect, but for the most part, it is like, for the most part, you know, it is close to the record. It's a close enough approximation. But there are those times where like a unit will lose power, you know, or like I'll hit the wrong button and the sample won't be loaded correctly, and you know, I'll think in my head, oh my God, I've ruined that entire song. But then I look out in the crowd and everyone's still losing their mind. So it's like, okay, so that was a tiny little thing. Doesn't really matter.
How are you utilizing like each delay, or the ones on top and the ones so?
Yeah. So these two at the bottom are only for sampling.
So they're dedicated to looping and
sampling.
sampling.
These are dedicated just for sampling. This one, like we talked about a minute ago, I can switch back between the regular delay mode.
Yep.
And with this mod, it can go into looper function. And then this one, which splits out directly to the amps in stereo, this one is just delay only. And so that's kind of why I need all four of those on here.
You're right now on tour, the 20th anniversary of Menos Melos.
Yeah.
And what's cool, I think, is that you brought out pretty much your board that you used back in 2005.
Yeah. No, this is like, I mean, with the exception of this tuner, which is great because, you know, you could whack it and like every string shows up, right? Which is like the best part about the Polytune. Everything is of 2005. So this, I wanted the board to be exactly like it would have been 20 years ago, which is why, you know, we have these like old school Boss pedals and the whammy. And I mean, this is the stuff that I wrote with and toured on 20 years ago. So it only made sense to kind of like keep it going in the spirit of celebrating the 20 years.
So which means that you're using tech that's 20 years old. Exactly. And at the same time, so that means that's probably adds to the physicality of what you're doing, because you mentioned your lead singer, guitar player as well, as has to kind of talk as you set the next loop, right?
Sometimes.
Tell me about that a little.
So some songs, I get the loop within the plane of the song, right? So sometimes the loop happens from a riff that's at the beginning of the song. But for a lot of songs, like the one we just heard, Drilling, I need to sample that before the song starts. So I'll hit this pedal here, which my buddy Brad, or my guitar tech, made.
Right.
This is a volume cut pedal. So while Jake's talking to the crowd or saying something, I can then, you know, go in here and play and record these little samples at a lower volume so that it doesn't go out full volume to the crowd to front of house. So it's like a little, but
so it's just a reference for you.
It's just a reference for me so I can hear it.
Got it.
The crowd doesn't necessarily hear it at full blast. Right. You know what's coming next. Although a lot of times there are like guitar nerds in the front, which I love because they're just like peeking over the barricade, you know, like, what's going on up there? Like, what song's next? I know he's sampling, you know, Nights, so that must be in the set list later on or something like that.
Yeah, speaking of, that's another cool tune that I kind of picked up on, the fact that, you know, it's really, you know, evocative of your style. There's a lot of synth-like parts, a lot of rhythmic stabs in that. Can you show us a little bit of how you do that song?
Of Nights?
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, that one is probably the most difficult one to sample. It takes me quite a few times to get that one right.
So you got to do that live, right?
But I have to do that live while, you know, while the crowd's here, while everyone's watching, while Jake's talking, while we're doing all this stuff.
So that's what makes it special, right?
And so that's one of the ones where our drummer he's so excellent at locking into the groove and following the sample, but sometimes he kind of needs to take the lead if the tempo that I get isn't exactly right.
I got you.
Because I can't spend I can't spend 5 minutes getting it perfect every time. So sometimes you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants a little bit.
That isn't that rock and roll?
Yeah, exactly. So here, let me sample the beginning of Nights. did it pretty quick right there. So then the riff for Nights goes like this.
That's amazing.
So that's kind of the main guitar. The first record that we did, Highly Refined Pirates, there's a lot of like that guitar tapping, two-handed guitar tapping stuff where I'm writing the riffs like that. And that was I think my attempt at trying to play my guitar like a keyboard, by, almost using the fretboard like you would a piano,
Right.
and the traditional keyboard. And then the second kind of wave of the band was when it switched to all this looping stuff. So I think throughout the history of the band, I've just been like, I like guitar, but let's make it sound weird.
Yeah.
Let's experiment a little bit.
Well, how did you get there? I know, like I said, your unorthodox style is more like, it's more about tapping rather than just soloing.
Sure, yeah.
How did you kind of fall into that? Like, what was it about your early beginnings of playing that you said like, oh, I like the way this sounds?
I mean, I always tried playing like all the, like thrash metal solos, right? That I would try to like learn from the transcriptions,
Right.
like the tabs or whatever.
That's all super fast addicting.
Yeah, and I never really excelled at that. Like, if there's like a Metallica song,
Mhm.
because that's like the band that got me into playing guitar, right?
Wow.
I like Kirk's solos, but I would way rather just play riffs. Like, I really like riffs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I want to write the basis of the song rather than have the flashy solo over the top of it.
Got it.
And so when I'm doing the tapping stuff, I'm always trying to write a riff instead of making a statement with like a virtuoso style guitar flourish.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of the other effects that you're using
Sure.
in your rig. Like how do you work those into
So
your sound?
let me play a little bit with, because this Giga delay is like the delay sound from one of like my most popular Minus the Bear songs. Yeah, it has some of the tapping we were just talking about. So actually, let me just play this for a minute.
Sure.
This is from Pachuca Sunrise. That's some of the tapping stuff that kind of utilizes the Giga delay, which I love for that really fast slap back,
Quick, right?
super feedbacky beginning of Pachuca. And then just a nice little simple, longer DL4 digital delay.
Yeah. Put it in the live setting when you got all the lights are low, and does it really hard to get through the song sometimes?
That's why
There we go.
put these like, this is really handy, especially, when you're like scrolling through, trying to find the proper, like
Interval
yeah, for the harmony on the whammy. Like, going back to the 2005 thing, there could be like a MIDI solution for so much of this.
Yeah.
Like there could be like a MIDI like hit this and then 5 pedals change and then I'm perfectly in the settings I need. But I don't know, I'm old school and I just like having boxes in front of me. And
You've absorbed this into your DNA.
yeah, no, truly, it's like there could be like like a modeling amps and instead of the twins and all that stuff, and this could just be like a MIDI controller, but that just kind of takes away some of the physicality and the fun of it to me.
You're like unlike anybody I've ever seen play. I'm just like I really dig it. You don't see guitar players like this. It's just wild. Can you also tell me a little bit, like I noticed your EQ setting is a little unconventional too.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is for a song called Hooray. Here, I'll play the section that it gets kicked on for.
Wow, that's so cool. And how did you stumble upon getting that particular sound? I mean, because it's a nice contrast to that Ibanez overdrive.
Sure, yeah. So this is like in the context of the song, like when this pedal gets kicked on, like the drums change and the whole feel changes.
Yeah.
And it's meant to just be like a totally drastic tonal shift with like the production on the record and that version of the chorus that's happening. And so this just seemed like a cool extreme setting where let's just like drop out like all the highs and lows, make it super mid-rangey, have it cut through and kind of like have it be kind of annoying sounding.
Yeah.
No,
but it kind of pokes out.
Yeah. I mean, like, why not have it be annoying for like 6 seconds? Like, that's honestly one of the most fun parts of that's what I just played. Like, that's the only time that pedal's on during the entire show.
Yeah, that's what's funny about this pedal board is that almost everything is dedicated to, your Menos El Oso album, that everything is kind of set up for that.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like each part is for a section of the song or, right?
Yeah, and so, I mean, some pedals were very specific to, like I only use this one for Hooray. This pedal is specifically only on an El Torrente. This is on in a handful of songs. But yeah, I mean, a couple of these pedals, like this PS3 and this specifically are, seconds of songs. But it's like, but those seconds are so important.
Yes.
To like recreate the album, to get the experience to the, to the fan that's in the show.
So the Ibanez that gets used a lot?
The tube screamers all the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I went through like 3 or 4 different tube screamers while we were rehearsing before I realized that this turbo one is the exact model that I used recording the record.
Really?
And even though I'm still using it in like the classic TS9 mode, I'm not using a turbo mode at all.
Wow.
It just sounds different.
I know what you're saying.
And so it's set up just like a regular in TS9 mode, but it just sounds different than like any other TS9s. So
no, I stand behind that kind of guitar lore. I've talked to many guitar players. It's like I don't know what it is about this thing. It does that thing. And
it does. It just has the sound.
Doesn't it work
when it's combined with like the pick attack and the guitar and like your fingers and the amps? Are just like some of those things are they just work together. Like the equation just like fits.
What about the Boxer Rock? What are you using that for? That's probably like your heaviest sound, right?
This is for some songs that aren't on Oso that we play. And I'm primarily using this as a clean boost. I use this a lot on some of the later Minus Severe records. So this isn't necessarily an Oso pedal, but it's for after we finish the Oso part of the set, we do other songs from the catalog.
Okay. So yeah, so you do the whole album in its entirety, and then you also have some extra songs that you do. Okay, got it. So what pedal is always on? Is it the tone press?
Tone press is pretty much always on. Yeah.
And that's pretty much your main like compressor and driving tone.
Yeah, I mean that's the first thing that the guitar hits. It's just a nice it's just nice because it has a blend, which is set at noon, which is just between the dry and the compressed signal.
Yeah.
But I just feel that like with a lot of the tapping stuff, I really need it to help level the low strings and then bring out some of the chiminess.
Yep.
For like the higher like E, B strings when you're up in this range, a lot of times
Yeah.
it's hard to poke through, and so to have the compressor kind of help bring that out is
How did you end up? I mean, there's so many different compressors out there. How did you end up with that particular one? Was
Yeah,
something about it? Same thing?
our original keyboardist and producer Matt Bayless uh, recommended it to me while we were, I think, recording or writing, and it works, and I've just always stuck with it. It's easy to use. Like a lot of times, like I'm not much of a studio guy, and so like dialing in sounds on compressors is still kind of foreign in my brain. This one is so easy. It's like just volume, blend, and sustain.
That's it.
I can understand that, and
You're a true guitar player.
and so that's I understand it. I know what it needs to do, and I can make it work for me. So
All this is going out to dual twins. Are those your twins, or these are not like rented, right?
these are mine.
Those are yours.
Yep.
And you're running in stereo?
They're running in stereo, although there's not really any stereo. There's not really any stereo effects going on.
I gotcha.
I like having it in stereo just because then I can have it hard panned left and right in my in-ears
Oh, I see.
and the monitors.
Okay.
And then also our front of house engineer can kind of like play with the tonal, with like the stereo spread and making it,
Right.
wide or narrow or whatever in the mix for front of house.
And they're pretty much stock twins? No.
Actually, one of them is stock, brand new, with like this one I got like 6 months ago, so that's just totally stock. That one is probably 15 years old, but it is fitted with Varellin octal tubes, which aren't even really tubes. It's a solid state replacement for tubes.
Huh.
My buddy Ben, who did Varellin amps. I don't know if you're familiar with Varellin amps.
I'm not so sure.
He's an electrical engineer, and he wanted to solve the problem of tubes failing, tubes breaking, just supply chain of tubes.
Right.
And so he created what looks exactly like a tube that will fit into an EL34 or a 6L6 slot socket, but it's solid state, but it sounds just like.
So it behaves like a tube, more or less.
And so you never have to buy more tubes. And like you won't have a tube that breaks.
Yeah.
But it sounds and behaves just like a.
So that's your fail-safe amp, just in case that.
It sounds phenomenal too. I mean, honestly, with the twin, it gives it a little more clean headroom, which is perfect for like, a platform for my pedal board because you need, with all this stuff going on, I need like a really like clean power is pretty important.
Yeah.
In the equation.
No, I think that's really the foundation of your tone is that clean sound, and you really
knowing how to drive it and when to drive it,
and the other funny thing too is since you decided to go all authentic and old school, it's no wirelesses really. You're just plugging in,
just plugging straight in. Although it's funny, like this is a limited stage setup for us because it's so small. Normally the drums are on and keys are on risers, and so a lot of times during the show I'll like walk back up here and get on the riser and hang out with Josh, our drummer. But multiple times my cord has gotten caught up in this freaking light right here. And then I'm just like, I can't get to my board. I need to cut the board with my cords. Stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So believe me, I've thought about doing the wireless thing on this tour, but here we are.
So then the other thing I want to is touch on your guitar. You did an Instagram video and that we have, and talking about this PRS. I know you kind of stumbled upon this on the music at a music store. But were you aware of PRS before, or just what was it about it that just like
I was. I mean, at that point, I was playing a lot of Les Pauls and Botch, which was the hardcore metal band that I was doing before Minus the Bear, and I love the Les Pauls. But I needed a guitar for Minus the Bear that was had pretty low action, was easy to play, and honestly, like had a pickups, like practically speaking, had a pickup selector that wasn't right here. Because if I'm doing all this tapping stuff, like the pickup selector's up here, I'm just going to be like getting in my way a lot.
Yeah.
And I always like loved the look of the PRS, and I always knew it was a well-built guitar. Like I just love what I really like about this guitar is it just looks beautiful, but it's simple.
Yeah.
Like
straightforward.
I like the simple gold top. I like the simple dots.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff. Like I'm not a guy that needs a cherry burst flame top something.
Right.
Like for me, this is just like a workhorse.
Yep.
And it sounds great and it's versatile.
Yeah, you can see you put the miles on this one.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of dings and dents, all the way down here,
and it's just there's no fancy coil tapping, just straight humbucker, and it's all original.
Yeah, all original. I mean, I could coil tap, but I don't. I like that sound a lot, but it's really a lot of the neck pickup for just because it has that like bigger.
So you play mostly in the
body.
neck pickup?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Really?
Yeah. Especially the tapping stuff sounds
Meteor?
so much better when it has like the full sound as opposed to. I mean, there are chorus sections where I'm playing it. I switch back to the bridge,
Right.
but it's the neck that does most of the work.
Wow, interesting. And I'm assuming you're in standard tuning mostly,
It's
or
drop
half step,
D.
drop D?
Yeah, because drop D is like with the tapping stuff. A lot of times I'm hammering on a
I
chord down
see.
here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then doing something else at the top with my other hand. And so having an easel, I could do power chords like this, but a lot of times it's just easier to,
Yeah.
do that kind of thing.
Kind of voice the chord with it because you're doing so much to begin with.
Yeah, make it easy on myself.
But do you ever get confused while you're up on stage up here doing all this stuff?
Sometimes, but like, a lot of it's muscle memory. We toured so much on this record back in 2005 and 6 and 7 and all that. Like when we were relearning the songs, one of the riffs and all the songs came back to me pretty naturally.
Yeah.
There were certain delay settings that I had to kind of pick my brain at a little bit.
Back at it.
Yeah. But for the most part, like it all came back pretty easily, and the muscle memory is pretty strong with me, which I'm
That's great.
fortunate.
What do you do like on tour now that you've been on tour to like kind of stay, mentally and physically fit? Do you have a regimen or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
I just try to be really healthy on tour. Like, this is a funny thing, not really funny, but like, 7 years ago when the band quit, like I was just drinking way too much and had, that had kind of like, I was spiraling downhill. So I've been sober for almost 6 years at this point.
Congratulations.
And that's just like really reinvigorated my love of music.
Yeah.
It's like I was pretty jaded and, when the band broke up in 2018 and I kind of went to a dark place, but, getting sober just really made my creativity return.
Yeah.
And as well as my desire to play.
Yeah.
So just like, going to the gym while I'm on tour, like eating healthy, like doing things like that has really been, it's really been a blessing, honestly, to be able to come back out and like play these songs again, but be totally present.
Yes.
And it makes it so much easier to play all this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're not like 3 sheets to the wind and you haven't been like, you're not hungover from the night before.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say you look fantastic because I was doing a little bit on you. It's like, wow, the 2012 Dave does not look like 2025 Dave.
No, not at all.
And it's amazing, it's what a transformation. I mean, bravo!
Thank you, I appreciate it, man. Everyone assumes like rock and roll, like you're on tour, it's all party, yada yada yada, and it is, but it doesn't have to be. And so, like, I'm just really enjoying being on this tour and like just taking it all in and remembering everything.
Fantastic. What's next for you, by the way?
So what's next? I don't know, 3 years ago, I wrote a solo record and collaborated with a bunch of different vocalists who sang on each song. So I have I have like another 12 or 13 songs ready to go. So as soon as this tour is over, I'm going to be hitting up friends that are singers because I can't sing to finish up that record. And then, I'm just excited to get home to the family and resume normal life for a little bit.
And how about just listening to music? Any artists and guitar players you've been listening to that have been spiked your interest?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many great ones out there. I mean, I'll have to plug like some of my best friends in a band called Russian Circles. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're like a heavy 3-piece instrumental band. There's a lot of intricate tapping work and hypnotic drones and just really heavy crushing bass lines and fantastic drumming. So Russian Circles is always a favorite to listen to.
Awesome. Any advice you want to give to aspiring musicians like yourself?
I mean, I've found that just do something, like carve out some time, like 10 minutes a day, and just like keep your muscle going, Like I feel like a few years ago, like if I let myself go in terms of like not playing or writing for a while, it was really hard for me to get back on get back in that creative mode. So I feel like even if you're writing something that you don't like, just do something for 10 minutes. Cause a lot of times you have to write a bunch of shit and like just get it out of you before you find like the really great stuff in your playing. And so I feel like sometimes you just got to work through the bad ideas before you're really hit with like a gem. And then from there, I feel like sometimes it's just a snowball effect.
Yeah. No, I think I've seen it because I think just being able to do this, so many, having this kind of setup allows you as a launch pad of so many ideas.
Well, it is overwhelming sometimes. And to be honest with you, a lot of the songs start with me just on my couch with like a guitar in my lap.
That's it.
And that's it. And then from there, if I've written something that sounds good on like an acoustic guitar while I'm sitting on a couch, when I plug it in and do weird stuff to it, it always just, I can take it from there. So a lot of times it starts real simple.
Amazing. So final question, being that you're minus the bear, and you have all these other bands like Young the Giant, Cage the Elephant, do you ever call them up and go, yo, come on, what's up?
No, that's funny though. I mean,
I think you were the first, right?
like back in the day, like we took Portugal the Man out on one of their early tours, and Young the Giant, I think, on their first tour and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was just like there was a band in Seattle called Pedro the Lion. Maybe I stole it from them. So that's always been kind of a.
You guys cornered the animal section.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, something like that.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it. Dave Knudson, minus the bear, out on tour, doing the whole Manos El Oso album. And you want to see the magic that he's creating on stage, you got to see it for yourself. So as I always say, definitely check it out.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you, Dave.
Paul. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.